Welcome, Kim, to InfraTalk America.
Thank you.
So nice to have you here, and we're both involved in the American Association of State and Highway Transportation Officials, AASHTO as we know it.
Yes.
The collection of all the state DOTs, and you're here in your professional capacity.
Yes.
For your company called Viva.
That's right.
And but you also have the distinction of having served on your city council in Salem, Missouri, and part of that service included being mayor.
That is correct.
So you're a local official who I'm sure has had some experience dealing with the state DOT and all the associated benefits that can come with that.
Yeah.
So I might ask you about your experience working with the state DOT as a municipal official.
Yeah. Well, I'll go a little bit farther back from that. I originally got my start in my career working for a small but mighty nonprofit that worked a lot on making a healthier community overall. So increasing walkability, bikeability, transportation equity. And that's how I first began working closely with local government, regional organizations, and even state organizations. And it gave me the passion for government in general. And then so from that, obviously we worked hand in hand at that position. And then from that, I ran for office myself because I wanted to get more done. So yeah, I became an elected official in 2016, started as an alderwoman. In the 6 years that I served, I was everything from alderwoman, president of the board, chair of the capital improvements committee, chair of the finance committee, and then I ended that time as mayor. But yeah, so obviously in local government, you never get anything done alone.
Of course.
You're working with, your regional planning commissions, your state DOT, tons of cogs in the wheel, if you will. So yeah.
And MoDOT's a great state DOT, so
Yeah.
you're fortunate to have the resource of that agency available to you.
Yeah.
And I wanted to sort of start with that background because I've always considered, I spent 12 years as a member of the Maine House of Representatives.
Yeah.
So I served in the legislature, and then I served in the governor's office, and then ultimately at the federal level. But I was also deputy commissioner of Maine DOT at the time. And but I've always considered local government the front lines of public policy. You are literally exposed to your friends and neighbors at the grocery store every day, and you're seeing them, and they all have opinions on local issues.
That's the truth.
When I was in the legislature, I mean, half the time somebody says, "How things in Washington?" So it's a different kind of relationship when you're serving at the state level than the local level. So I've always had a lot of admiration for those of you willing to serve at that level. But let's talk about what we're here. We're here about transportation and infrastructure and all this good stuff. And you represent a company called Viva. Can you tell us about the company and your technology?
Yeah, absolutely. So Viva, we have AI computer vision sensors, and our mission is genuinely to save lives, and also to encourage active travel and different modes of transportation. So our sensors do a lot of things, but one of the most exciting things that they do is they detect near misses or all of the almost crashes that are occurring on our roadways. And we do that because we don't believe that anybody should have to lose a life or be injured before we can advocate for the changes that need to be made on our roadways. And currently, unfortunately, our authorities are in that reactive state. They're dependent on historic crash reports and police reports to be able to build the case for change for these safety improvements that need to be made. So we want to supply the data that gives them the power to say, this is a dangerous situation here. This is what's happening. This is the root cause for these safety concerns. And we need to act now to prevent crashes from occurring and prevent lives from being lost or severely injured. Along with that same sensor collects a lot of the traditional traffic data that they're looking to collect, things like classified counts from everything from e-scooters, pedestrians, cyclists, to your motor vehicles, turning counts, speed, congestion data, tracks data. It's a huge suite of data, and it's all real time. Plug and play. We have an online dashboard. You can view all of that data essentially in real time. So So yeah, it's
so how does the technology work? Where are the sensors located, for example, in the infrastructure, in the vehicles, both? How does that work?
So they're generally, we just need height and power. Those are our two requirements. So generally, most commonly, I would say they're installed on a light pole or a traffic signal pole because those have the main components of height and power. We also have solar and battery options available if needed as well. But they're in such a variety of locations, from busy intersections in downtown urban areas to small towns to parks and trail systems.
So they're not they're not integrated at all with the traffic signal technology.
They do not.
So it stands on its own.
Correct. So it doesn't need to be. We can also do detection for signals, but that's not a requirement. So there's a SIM card within the device itself, and so that cellular connection is what moves all of the data from the device itself onto the online dashboard that you can view it all.
So the technology doesn't depend on your companion technology being in the vehicle. You're
That's correct.
Recording the data from visualization
Exactly.
of the traffic movement.
Exactly. Yeah. AI computer vision. So our algorithm is trained to identify all the different classes that I just talked about and continually training that algorithm to identify more. So things like wheelchair users, white cane users, strollers, cargo bikes, all of these different modes. Yeah, we're continually training our algorithm. And as those continue to be released, our users have the benefit of, we just get to tick that on from our end, and they're automatically able to start collecting that data as new features are released. So AI computer vision is such a powerful tool and way to collect this data for those reasons.
So tell us a little bit about Viva. How long's Viva been around?
Yeah, Viva's been around since 2016. So it was founded by three friends who met at the University of Cambridge. Some of the brightest minds I've ever had the privilege to meet and speak to. They are avid cyclists, and they noticed that there was this huge gap in reliable data, especially for vulnerable road users. We have a lot of data on cars, right? But finding reliable data on how many cyclists are on the road or pedestrians are on the road, that isn't just a 2-day traffic study that gives you a tiny snippet of information. It was so difficult to find. So they really set out to solve that problem, and that's how they identified AI computer vision as the means for that change. We're based in London. That's where our headquarters are. We have a very, very healthy customer base there. We are the market leader there, also in Australia, several other places in Europe, and then we started our North American expansion this year, really. So we have.
So you're very new to this market.
This market, yes. Wow. So we're excited to be here, and we are. We originally piloted in New York City. That was our first customer, so it's great for first customer to have.
Not bad.
Yeah, and then also Toronto, and then also working with Culver City right outside of LA as well.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
A big focus of ours is digital project delivery, and we focus on how to build stuff for the most part. But we have absolutely expressed it. We've adopted work zone safety as a policy issue that we advance. But absolutely, the technology that will improve how we manage traffic, it really becomes a question of. I remember way back when I served at Federal Highway, and we had established a program called Everyday Counts, which goes on to this day. I'm so proud of it. And we had an initiative in round one, which would go back to 2010, called Adaptive Signal Control Technology. Yeah. And what it was actually research Federal Highway had done, and a couple of other private companies had done similar kind of research, but they were basically, it was all about plug and play. Yeah. It was all about how do we easily adapt existing traffic signals to provide a better means of managing the technology and the signalization to extend the life of an intersection. Right. Because obviously rebuilding intersections is a very expensive proposition. Right. So it was really a way to improve safety, to improve mobility of traffic movement. and do so at a fraction of the cost of physical infrastructure improvements. That was 2010.
Yeah, yeah.
And what you're describing is not the same, obviously, application, but AI is changing everything.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and exactly what you just said, everything that we do in transportation, it's expensive. It's expensive to change a roadway. It's expensive to make these improvements. And one of my favorite ways that our customers use our sensors is they're able to monitor how effective the changes that they're making are. So they can start with the low cost solutions first and have that real-time view of what impact did this have. So a lot of times they find they don't have to jump to that high cost solution. We can just paint bolder lines on the road. We can put new signage here. And that gets us to the point that we're satisfied. So it's really a way to be able to, like I said, in real time monitor that, not having to, implement something and then wait months for a report to come back on if it was effective or not. You can look every single day. As long as you've had that sensor up, you can look at the data. So if you've had that sensor up for 3 years and you want to look back on 3 years worth of data, you can do that. Or if you want to look at just what's happened today, you can do that. There's flexibility.
Fascinating.
Thank you.
Artificial intelligence. I was saying something, telling somebody earlier. I mean, I'm not sure I remember hearing the term.
Yeah.
3 years ago.
Yeah.
Or 2 years ago.
Totally.
And the pace at which it's adapting to or people are adapting their needs to AI in some way, shape, or form is really a little scary at times.
Yeah.
But the application you're describing seems to make a whole lot of sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because you want that technology studying, learning, and adapting to what's on the ground. It'll help the interpretation of that information be much more effective.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
and that's the exciting thing about AI as well, is the longer you have it implemented, the longer it's around, the better it gets. So the more that algorithm has a chance to train, the more accurate it gets, which across our classes, we have 97% accuracy or above. So we already have high accuracy, but the more images and video that our system sees, the more it's trained, and it just gets better with time. So
interesting.
Yeah.
Well, I really appreciate taking anything else you'd like to add, or let our listeners know about your technology, or Salem, Missouri, for that matter.
Well, Salem's a small town, and so a lot of times when I'm talking about Viva and the projects that we do, we talk about the New York City projects, or the London projects, these big cities, which are exciting and always, I'm excited to talk about them, but I always like to mention too that we work with the Salems and the small towns too. This technology. It's not exclusive to big cities. In some ways it might be more important, because exactly
coming by capital dollars is even tougher for those smaller
exactly
towns.
And as SS4A funding is released, data is such a core piece to being able to write a compelling application. But also, in the Salem, Missouris, you might not have the crash data to support change. You might have your citizens coming to you every day saying, this intersection is really dangerous. I almost get in a crash every day when I take my kids to school. But having this kind of data can help you advocate for those changes that need to be made without having to wait for something terrible to happen. And like I said, we make this really accessible for all sizes of communities. So don't think that because it's AI, computer vision, it sounds really fancy, techie, that it's not going to be accessible for your community, because we really strive to make sure that we're accessible for everybody.
Well, you're a great advocate for your technology.
Thank you.
Thank you for being so knowledgeable about it and sharing those insights with us. And good luck with your endeavors.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank
Great
you,
to talk
Kim.
to you.
Much appreciated.